here is the dispatch audio where the dispatchers talk about how there was no autopsy report.
So I did do the request. They emailed me back. He did not go in for an autopsy. The death certificate was signed by the doctor at the hospital.
Oh, okay. Can you just do a field clip documenting that?
I'm sorry, 10-9?
Can you just add a step to the case documenting that there was no autopsy?
Yeah, 287, I'll be clear to the hospital.
I need an officer at Timpanogos Hospital to come stage in the emergency room bay.
Jesse just told me that he just got on the phone and Charlie's wife is coming to signature and they're bringing a car over here for arraignment.
Charlie's wife is coming to land at signature, you said?
Sir, and Jesse's going to go to Duncan right now and pick up a car for her.
Okay, I'm a little confused because that's what Corey just said. They said they're landing at Duncan, so I don't know where they're landing, but we will just kind of play it by ear, I guess, best that we can.
The most chilling and emotionally draining part of Charlie Kirk's death wasn't the bullet that killed him, but the silence, confusion, conflicting lies, the cover-ups and possible conspiracies that followed. What if the loudest clue in this entire case wasn't shouted over police radios or caught on some grainy rooftop camera, but hidden? In the quiet parts they never expected anyone to notice? Because somewhere in the leaked dispatch audio, 30 full seconds are missing, gone, redacted, scrubbed like they were never there. And in those 30 seconds, some believe the real story died. But that's just the beginning. Because maybe it wasn't just the audio they buried. Maybe it was the body itself. There's a dark theory quietly spreading across private message boards, investigative circles, even within law enforcement off the record. A theory so uncomfortable, so outrageous, that even bringing it up gets you labeled a conspiracy theorist. But what if it's true? What if no autopsy was ever performed on Charlie Kirk? Not a single photograph, not one documented wound pathway, no official trajectory analysis, no bullet fragments pulled, no time of death confirmed by a coroner. Nothing. And instead, just hours after the chaos, his wife was ushered into a quiet room and handed a death certificate, signed it, and that was it. No oversight, no second opinion, just a pen, a line, and the permanent end of a trail that should have led to justice. You don't need to be a forensic expert to know this doesn't happen. Not even in this case of public assassination. In a shooting captured on video. Not when a man like Charlie Kirk is killed with a high-powered rifle in the middle of a college campus in broad daylight. That the truth didn't just get buried under grief, it got buried with the body. If there was no autopsy, then we have no proof of trajectory, no verified entry wound, no ballistics, no way to confirm without a doubt who fired the shot, or even from where. Ask yourself, why would they skip it? Why deny the most basic tool of investigation in the most high-profile death of the year? And why, with all the power he had, did Charlie Kirk leave this world without the dignity of an open file? This isn't about politics anymore. This is about process, about accountability, about what it means to erase evidence in plain sight and count on the public not to notice. Before you scroll away, before you decide this is just noise, listen to me. If we let this die, if we pretend this isn't worth asking about, if we don't demand the records, the paperwork, the autopsy that never came, then they win the cover-up. And Charlie Kirk becomes more useful as a symbol than as a man who ever deserved the truth. So don't look away. Not now. Not when the silence is finally speaking. Please share with me your thoughts on this matter in the comments. Express how you feel. I sure will read and respond to every single comment, because your voice and opinions counts. This video contains speculation and interpretations of leaked material. Some elements remain unverified, and many questions are still unanswered. Do not take these words as definitive fact, but as a call to look deeper. No allegation here has been legally adjudicated. Families, loved ones, victims, they deserve respect, dignity, and due process. If you or anyone affected by events like this is listening, I speak with caution and empathy. Investigate yourself, push for records, file freedom of information requests, support independent watchdogs and forensic groups that demand transparency. Above all, avoid sensationalizing violence. True crime is about truth, not shock value. When we tell these stories, we owe it to the lives behind them to stay truthful, fair, and humane. Let the silence speak, but let your questions be louder. They say in every investigation, the most revealing evidence is often what's not said. The silence between words, the seconds missing from a recording, the whispers no one was meant to hear. In the weeks since Charlie Kirk was shot, one piece of leaked material has ripped open the surface narrative: dispatch and 911 radio traffic, circulating via TMZ and other outlets. What was leaked was raw and terrifying. At first, the audio is deceptively clinical. One individual shot, unknown where the shooter went. In that moment, responders are scrambling, coordinating, trying to get eyes on the shooter, processing chaos. But then the tone changes. A second segment, a person is located on the rooftop east of the university's library, wearing jeans, a black shirt, a vest, and carrying a long rifle. The dispatchers repeat the description, almost as if confirming information just relayed off tape. That detail alone would already challenge the official narrative, but that's not all. Observers and amateur audio analysts began dissecting the clip and noticed something alarming: gaps, abrupt jumps in the waveform, places where the recording seems to cut out entirely. Versions of the tape circulating online reportedly omit roughly 30 seconds of what should be continuous radio audio. In those missing seconds, critics believe, lies potential evidence, names spoken, positions confirmed, instructions relayed, that someone didn't want the public to hear. And then there's the whisper. So faint you might miss it on first listen. In certain versions, just before or after the cut, a dispatcher's voice dips into a near whisper. They told us not to. That phrase, if real, would open a Pandora's box. Who is they? Who gave orders not to do something? And what was being suppressed? Imagine this. The dispatch traffic doesn't just confirm a rooftop suspect, but also hints at internal instructions to withhold or conceal something. A dispatcher, mid-chaos, whispers what everyone behind the microphone may already suspect: that someone above the street-level scanner is pulling strings. The twist here, the true pivot, is not only what the leaked audio says, but what it suggests: that the official version of events may have been pre-shaped, planted, or edited before the public ever heard it. Under the bright lights and social media flame, the audio becomes less a tool of clarity and more a blade of suspicion. Did someone intentionally cut out incriminating evidence? Did someone speak off mic in those missing seconds, of operatives, of vantage points that don't align with what we've been told? And what if that whisper, "they told us not to," is an admission of control, of direction, of suppression? As we go deeper into this case, remember, the strongest clues are sometimes the ones they try hardest to erase. Charlie Kirk was no stranger to controversy. To some, he was a symbol of unapologetic conservatism. To others, he was a provocateur, calculated, combative, and relentlessly effective. But no matter where you stood, one thing was certain. Charlie Kirk mattered in American politics. Founder of Turning Point USA, a fixture at college campuses across the country, a speaker who made headlines not just for what he said, but for how many people he said it in front of. He didn't just build a movement, he built a battlefield. And on September 10th, 2025, the battlefield came for him. It was a Tuesday, Utah Valley University, part of his American comeback tour, what some called the Prove Me Wrong series. Another campus stop, another crowd, another night of arguments, applause, and ideology colliding. Until suddenly, a single shot. One gunshot, straight to the neck, no warning, no speech to end on, just chaos, screams, running feet, and then silence. He was rushed out, airlifted, pronounced dead shortly after. And with that, Charlie Kirk's voice, one of the loudest in modern American conservatism, was gone. The official story moved fast. Within hours, police announced the suspected weapon, a .30-06 Mauser, bolt action, a rifle designed for distance, precision, one clean shot. And just as quickly, they had a name: Tyler James Robinson, a 28-year-old Utah resident, arrested, charged with aggravated murder, attempted murder, and possession of a weapon by a restricted person. Case closed, right? Not even close. Because from the moment the first headlines hit, something didn't feel right. Not to the public. Not to the people on the ground. Not even to some of those inside law enforcement. The first red flag? The timing. Within minutes of the shooting, someone leaked dispatch audio, radio chatter between responding officers. It sounded routine at first, confused, scrambled, but then came the details. A man seen on the rooftop, black vest, long rifle, east of the library building. Except that description didn't match the man they arrested, and the timeline didn't match the moment the gun went off. Then, there was the audio itself. 30 seconds, gone, a skip, a gap, a silence that shouldn't exist in an emergency channel. And in some versions of the file, a whispered voice, faint, almost buried, saying something no one can quite make out. Some claim it was, "They told us not to say." Others swear it was something worse. Either way, it raised a question no one wanted to ask. Was this really an open and shut assassination, or was something off? Because when the dust settled, when the cameras left the scene and the headlines cooled down, the story started to rot from the inside. Charlie Kirk was dead. The suspect was in custody. The weapon was identified. But the foundation, the evidence that should support every inch of the case, was paper thin. And as more pieces surfaced, it started to look like the official narrative wasn't just rushed. It might have been built to replace something else. Something harder to explain. Something someone didn't want us to see. We begin with the audio. The leak that cracked the door, dispatch traffic, 911 back and forth, voices in confusion, commands over the radio, static. The source? TMZ first published the clip. Some versions claim it came via scanner feeds. Others say public scanner archives or private listeners grabbed it. But whatever the origin, it's now circulating. Audible, haunting, and heavily dissected. If you were an audio forensic analyst listening to this tape, these are the things you'd look for. Continuity of waveform anomalies. Are there sudden breaks, silent jumps, unnatural transitions? Ambient noise, crosstalk, background voices. Can you detect overlapping voices or whispers hidden beneath louder transmissions? Missing segments or abrupt jumps. Moments where the audio seems to leap forward, skipping time entirely. In the versions making rounds online, critics point to a 30-second jump, an abrupt skip in the waveform, where the radio chatter cuts out, then returns. In that void, something may have been said, something meant to be erased. Then there's the whisper. In some versions, just before or after the jump, a low voice seems to murmur, "They told us not to. That real?" Or is it an artifact or overlay? The line between intended suppression and accidental artifact is dangerously thin. We must note, these whispered claims come from blogs, speculation, and audio hobbyist forums. There is no confirmed public investigative statement acknowledging them as fact. They remain unverified. Still, what if those seconds held the coordinates, or names, or orders? What if someone used that blank space to steer the narrative? Audio is invisible, but video is material. Social media and attendee footage now play a critical role. In several clips shared shortly after the shooting, users captured a figure on a rooftop near the library area, wearing dark clothing, vest, possibly holding a long rifle. That description mirrors what dispatch says later. Investigators and independent analysts attempt to synchronize these visuals with the time-stamped dispatch calls. If a clip shows a silhouette at time X and dispatch hears footsteps or a voice at time X, that alignment lends credence to the audio. But the problem? Many clips are blurry, low resolution, and unsynchronized. Angles shift. The roof edges crop out. The camera may shift focus. There are glaring gaps. No continuous rooftop to ground coverage. No steady shot tracking the shooter's path. Blind spots remain. Windows missing, angles missing, transitions that jump inexplicably. And in some cases, critical moments are captured only by one phone, making that footage the only witness, vulnerable to tampering or deletion. What about the bones? The bullet? The forensics? Here's what's publicly confirmed. The official cause of death is a gunshot wound to the neck. The weapon believed to be used is a .30-06 Mauser bolt-action rifle. A rifle matching that description was recovered, wrapped in a towel in a wooded area along a suspected escape route. Investigators also collected palm prints, footwear impressions, and even forearm imprints. Yet for all that, some critical data remain undisclosed. There is no public confirmation that the actual bullet, projectile, was removed from Kirk's body or matched to the rifle in public reports. Some sources note only that casings and unfired rounds were found. We have not seen a public, detailed autopsy report revealing wound path, bullet trajectory, entry-exit mapping, fragmentation, or tissue damage in full. There is no publicly disclosed GSR, gunshot residue table, DNA fingerprint findings on the bullet or rifle, or chain of custody documentation in granular form. There is no confirmed public acknowledgement of an exit wound or the bullet exiting the body. Some statements suggest the bullet may have lodged or fragmented. So the pivot here, the dispatch audio may offer new spatial clues, rooftop, direction, suspect positioning, but the foundation that should confirm them, autopsy, ballistic matching, forensic transparency, is still opaque. Without that backbone, the narrative is hollow. Let's trace the official response. How did law enforcement handle this case, publicly and behind closed doors? Shortly after the shot rang out, law enforcement locked down Utah Valley University. They evacuated buildings, swept rooftops, sealed off exits, and conducted campus-wide searches. Within hours, they scoped suspected vantage points. The FBI quickly joined the investigation. They released images of a person of interest, asked for public tips, and publicly announced they recovered what might be the weapon. They also claimed to gather forensic evidence, prints, imprints, outlines. The suspect Tyler James Robinson was later apprehended, or turned in, depending on narrative, and charged with aggravated murder and related counts. Public statements intensified. Former government officials made emotional remarks. Kash Patel's "See you in Valhalla" line gained particular attention and controversy. Note: verify exact phrasing and timing when scripting your published video. But critical gaps and criticisms started emerging almost immediately. The full autopsy has not been released. No public forensic file verifies or challenges the official cause. Several video releases and security camera feeds show signs of redaction or brevity. Critical sequences are missing or edited. Rooftop access points, shooter transitions, escape paths, many remain unaccounted for. How did the suspect move? How did he evade detection? Independent voices, including commentators like Valhalla VFT, are pushing, "Where is the autopsy report? Where is the forensic log?" Some accuse the narrative of being prepackaged, with key evidence withheld or staged. Official pushback. Agencies often claim ongoing investigation, chain of custody sensitivity, or legal constraints for non-disclosure. They deny tampering or alteration. Publicly, no authority has confirmed that audio segments were cut or that leaks were manipulated. Potential red flags? If the dispatch audio had been altered or withheld, it raises chain of custody concerns. Who edited? When? By what authority? Some descriptions of the rooftop suspect shift over versions. Clothing changes, position changes, direction changes, raising the possibility of inconsistent narrative shaping. Video leap cuts or missing frames suggest possible post-production editing, not just field recording limitations. The speed with which the public narrative was framed, tribute speeches, media commentary, may have outpaced forensic transparency, conditioning public opinion before all evidence was freely shown. If you stay silent, they'll bury the truth under new talking points. Share this video now, because your voice is part of the investigation. We began with silence. 30 missing seconds in dispatch audio. Gaps that may conceal more truth than the parts we can hear. We built through the case. Who Charlie Kirk was, how the shooting happened, what the official narrative asserts. We peeled back the layers of evidence. Audio anomalies, video matches, forensic shadows. We examined how law enforcement responded, and where their narrative veered from what the public saw. We explored theories, from honest leaks to tampering to deliberate narrative theater, and weighed them with scrutiny. At every turn, one tension rises above all others. The dispatch leak might hold hidden clues, or conflicts that dismantle the official version. And the greatest unknowns remain. What really occurred in those missing seconds, if they exist? Was the audio altered? If so, who did it, why, and with what authority? Where is the full autopsy report? The ballistic trajectories? The GSR data? The forensic paperwork? If those documents exist, why haven't they been released? So here's the question I leave you with. Do we accept the version handed to us, or do we demand the full, unredacted truth? Because silence is not always absence, and not asking is how they stay in control. If you're watching this and staying quiet, you're letting them rewrite history. Hit like, Share this video far and wide. Make voices loud enough that no agency, no institution can ignore us. What do you believe happened? Which theory resonates with you? What evidence do you demand to see? Tell me in the comments. Challenge me, push me, make me answer. Because this case isn't over. We're still writing the truth.